If you want to join the American military, you have to pass the ASVAB. And the most important section is called AFQT. It contains the following 4 subjects: arithmetic reasoning, word knowledge, paragraph comprehension, and mathematics knowledge. Stay tuned because this video goes over 10 questions in each subject. Section 1 of the AFQT is arithmetic reasoning. Get ready for 10 questions explained in 12 minutes. Arithmetic reasoning. A man owns 50 shares of stock worth $30 each. The corporation declared a dividend of 6% payable in stock. How many shares did he then own? Remember to pause, solve on your own, and put answers in the comments. Let's begin. Let's look at what's important. 50 shares, $30 each. Dividend, which means increase in value, of 6%, and we have to answer the question of how many shares did he then own. Let's start by looking at the answers. If I know I start with 50 shares and I have an increase in value, right away, let's knock out that 47. All right, first math part, 50 times 30. Is that too big of a number for you? I like to take away the zeros and then add them back. So you could think of 5 times 3 and add back the zeros. 5 times 3 is 15, so 50 times 30 is 1,500. We now have a total value of 50 shares at $30 each. So let's figure out 6%. 6% of 1,500 might be difficult for you. What I like to do is find 1%. 1% is easy. You just move over 2 decimal points. So 1% of 1,500 equals 15. And to get 6%, we just multiply it by 6. And you could think of this as 10 times 6 plus 5 times 6. So 60 plus 30 equals 90. 6% of $1,500 is $90. So we now have the new current value of 1,500 plus 90, $1,590. And since shares are $30 each, let's do 90 divided by 30 equals 3. Man can buy 3 shares. 50 original shares plus 3 new shares equals 53. And if we look up at the answer key, B, 53 shares. Thank you for watching. Arithmetic reasoning. If a load of snow contains 3 tons, it will weigh how many pounds? Remember to pause, solve on your own, put answer in the comments. Let's begin. So what's important? 3 tons, but we're asking how many pounds? Let's first remember, what does 1 ton weigh? And this is something you'll need to memorize. 1 ton equals 2,000 pounds. And how many tons do we have? 3. So we just do 3 times 2, giving us 6, and then add the zeros back on. So 3 times 2,000 equals 6,000. 3 tons equals 6,000 pounds. Answer is D, 6,000 pounds. Thank you for watching. Arithmetic reasoning. A pint of milk is what part of half a gallon? Remember to pause, solve on your own, and put answers in the comments. Let's begin. What's important? Pint and gallon. More specifically, half a gallon. Quick review. Gallon can equal 4 quarts, or 8 pints, or 16 cups, or 128 fluid ounces. You should memorize this for testing purposes. For today, we're doing pints versus gallon. We look up here, it's 8 pints. But for the question, we need half a gallon. So what do? Divide by 2. 4 pints equals half a gallon. And with the visual, if this complete circle equals half a gallon, each section equals 1 pint. I'm going to grab the highlighter, fill this in a little bit, and you can more easily see the visual of the fraction that 1 pint equals 1/4 of half a gallon. And if we look to our answer key, B, 1/4. Thanks for watching. Arithmetic reasoning. At the rate of 4 peaches for a $50, 20 peaches will cost what? Remember to pause, solve on your own, put answer in the comments. Let's begin. What's important? 4 peaches equals a $50, and we're trying to answer for 20 peaches. Let's do P for peaches. So what do we know? We know that 4 peaches equals 50 cents. What we don't know is what 20 peaches equals. But if you look at these numbers, I like that. Nice easy ratio. 20 divided by 4 equals 5. We're going to take that 5 and add it to both sides of the equation. 5 times 4 peaches equals 5 times 50 cents. 5 times 4 is 20 peaches. 5 times 5 is 25. Move the decimal for 250. We look at the answers. Letter D, 250. That's your answer. Thank you for watching. Arithmetic reasoning. How much total did the student save? 10 $1 bills, 9 $half, 8 quarters, 16 dimes, and 25 nickels. Remember to pause, solve on your own, put your answer in the comments. Let's begin. Now this is the type of question that you want to write out. 10 $1, 9 $half, 8 quarters, 16 dimes, 25 nickels. Let's do the math. 10 times 1 is 10. 9 times 5 is 45. Move the decimal for 450. 25 cents is just a quarter. 4 quarters to $1, 8 quarters to $2. 10 cents is easy. You just move the decimal on 160 for $1.60. Don't think of this as 25 nickels. Think of this as 5 quarters for $1.25. Now we just do some math. Far right column, 5 cents. Put down the 5. Next column, 5 and 6 is 11 and 2 is 13. So put down the 3, carry the 1. 1 plus 4 is 5, plus 2 is 7, 8, 9. Put down the 9. Finally, we have a 1. Bring it down. Your answer is 1935, letter D. Thank you for watching. Arithmetic reasoning. How many minutes are in one day? Remember to pause, solve on your own, put answer in the comments. Let's begin. So what's important? Minutes and day. This is the type of question that can trick you up if you're moving too quickly, because we're not talking about minutes per hour. We're not talking about hours per day. Minutes per day. So we have to build out a ratio. Minutes and day. And what's in the middle? Hours, right? So how many hours in one day? 24. That's easy enough. How many minutes per 1 hour? 60. Now let's do some math. 60 times 24. If that's difficult, let's save time and estimate. So take the tens place. 6 times 2 is 12. Add back the zeros. 60 times 20 is 1200. Let's look at our answers. The closest one is B, 1440. Thanks for watching. Arithmetic reasoning. Postage rate increased from 25 cents to 29 cents. The percentage of increase was most nearly. Remember to pause, solve on your own, and put answer in comments. Let's begin. So what's important? We need the difference between 25 and 29, and the answer is the percentage of increase. So let's find the difference. 29 minus 25 is 4, and with percentage problems, I like to guesstimate with a round number like 10%. 10% is easy because you just move the decimal point one place. 10% of 25 is 2.5, too low. So let's double it. 20% of 25 is 2.5 times 2 is 5. 5 is too high, but now we have parameters. The answer is greater than 10 and less than 20. And if we look at the answer bank, D, 20%, we know is wrong. So now we're just down to 3 options. Let's do the proper math. And you do that by finding the difference and then dividing by the starting number. So 25 goes into 4 0 times. Bring down a 0. 25 goes into 40 once. Remember the decimal. Put down the 25, and now it's subtraction. 40 minus 25 equals 15. 25 doesn't go into 15, so bring down another 0. 25 does go into 150 evenly 6 times, but that's not our answer. We have to turn it into a percentage. So you multiply by 100, gives you 16%. B, 16%. That's your answer. Thank you for watching. Arithmetic reasoning. On a scale drawing, a line a 1/4 inch long represents a length of 1 foot. On the same drawing, what length represents 4 feet? Remember, pause, solve on your own, put answer in the comments. Let's begin. What's important? 1/4 inch, 1 foot, 4 feet. What do we know? We know that 1/4 inch equals 1 foot. What we don't know is how many inches equals 4 feet. Well, 4 and 1 makes that simple. Let's rewrite that. 1 foot times what equals 4 feet? Well, that's easy. 1 foot times 4 equals 4 feet. So let's do the same with the inches. 1/4 inch times 4 equals what? Now a quick review on multiplying fractions. 4 as a whole number is the same as 4 over 1. So we take 1/4 times 4 over 1. And when you multiply fractions, you just go across. 1 times 4 equals 4. 4 times 1 equals 4. 4 over 4 is the same as 1. So here's your answer, A, 1 inch. Thank you for watching. Arithmetic reasoning. What is the greatest number of half-pint bottles that can be filled from a 10-gallon jug? Remember to pause, solve on your own, put answer in comments. Let's begin. So what's important? Half-pint and 10-gallon. Let's build a ratio. Half-pint to gallon. What can we put in the middle to help us? Pint. Let's quick review. 1 gallon equals how many pints? Do you remember? 8 pints. That's right. Now, knowing that, let's look at our answers, because 16 doesn't make sense and 17 doesn't make sense. But we need more than 1 gallon. We need 10 gallons. 1 times 10 is 10 gallons. 8 times 10 is 80 pints. And we have to get down to half pints. That means we're going to multiply by 2. 80 times 2 equals 160. Answer A, 160. Thanks for watching. Arithmetic reasoning. If a boat is towed at the rate of 4 miles per hour, how much time will it take to tow the boat 17 miles? Remember to pause, solve on your own, put answer in comments. Let's begin. So what's important? Rate, 4 miles per hour. Distance, 17 miles. We need to memorize this important formula. Distance equals rate times time. What are the givens? Distance, 17 miles. Rate, 4 miles per hour. Let's plug those into the formula. 17 equals 4 times time. Now we need to isolate time, so divide both sides by 4. Cross out the 4 on the right, and we're left with 17 over 4 times time. Now, 4 goes into 17 4 times, not 5. So let's look at the answer key. We can eliminate anything over 5 hours, and we're only left with 2 options. Now, here's our new problem. 17 divided by 4 equals time. We can simply turn this into a mixed number. 17 divided by 4 equals 4 1/4, which equals time. Now we're left with that quarter. Remember, a quarter equals 15 minutes. That means the answer is C, 4 hours, 15 minutes. Thank you for watching. Section 2 of the AFQT is word knowledge. Get ready for 10 questions explained in 6 minutes. Word knowledge. Double most nearly means what? Pause, solve on your own, put answer in comments. Let's begin. Let's review each term. Almost, not quite, very nearly, half, either of 2 equal parts, twice, 2 times, double in quantity, more than, to a greater degree. And the key term, double, twofold, twice as much. Looking at all the definitions, C, twice is the best answer. Word knowledge. Purchase most nearly means what? Remember to pause, solve on your own, put answer in comments. Let's begin. Let's review all terms. Charge, accuse, entrust, demand price in exchange, supply, quantity needed or available, order, the arrangement, authoritative command, buy, to obtain in exchange for payment, and the key word, purchase, to buy for a price. Based on the definitions listed, D, buy, is the best answer. Word knowledge. Hollow most nearly means what? Remember to pause, solve on your own, put answer in comments. Let's begin. Let's first review each term. Empty, containing nothing, having no value. Brittle, hard but liable to break easily. Rough. Uneven surface, not gentle. Smooth. Even surface without jerks. And the key term, hollow, to be unfilled, empty. Based on these definitions, your best answer is A, empty. Word knowledge. Candor most nearly means what? Remember to pause, solve on your own, and put answer in the comments. Let's begin. First, let's review each term, starting with untruthful, something that is false or indirect. Directness, quality of being straightforward. Flightless, naturally unable to fly. Roundabout, a circular road junction, indirect statement. And the key term, candor, to be honest in expression, frankness. Based on these terms, B, directness is the best option. Word knowledge. Customary most nearly means what? Remember to pause, solve on your own, put answer in the comments. Let's begin. First, we'll review each term starting with curious. Eager to learn or know something. Necessary. Required to be done. Essential. Difficult. Needing much effort or skill to accomplish. Common. Occurring often, shared by more than one. And the key term, customary. Commonly practiced, habitual. Based on these options, D, common is the best option. Word knowledge. The clerk was criticized for his slipshod work. Remember to pause, solve on your own, put answer in the comments. Let's begin. First, we'll review each term. Slow, moving at a low speed, not quick. Careful. Cautious, avoiding danger or mishap. Careless. Not giving attention to avoiding errors. Original. First, existing from the beginning. And the key term, slipshod. Lack of care or organization. Based on these options, C, careless is the best answer. Word knowledge. The captive was treated badly. Remember to pause, solve on your own, put answer in comments. Let's begin. First, we'll review each term starting with savage. Fierce, violent, uncontrolled. Jailer, person in charge of the prisoners in a jail. Spy, person or thing that watches others secretly. Prisoner, person held in prison, confined by situation. And the key term, captive, person taken prisoner, confined animal. Based on these options, D, prisoner is the best answer. Word knowledge. Benevolent most nearly means what? Remember to pause, solve on your own, put answer in comments. Let's begin. First, we'll review each term starting with frugal. Costing little, simple, and plain. Generous. Readiness to give more than is expected. Thoughtful. Absorbed in thought, consideration for others. Peaceful. Free from disturbance, tranquil. And the key term, benevolent. Expressing goodwill, positive intentions. Of these four options, B, generous is the best answer. Word knowledge. Fictitious most nearly means what? Remember to pause, solve on your own, put answer in comments. Let's begin. First, we'll review each term starting with imaginary. Existing only in the mind, unreal. Well known, known widely or thoroughly. Odd, differing from what's expected, strange. Easy to remember. Memorable, remarkable. And the key term, fictitious. Not real or true, being imaginary. Of the four options, A, imaginary is the best answer. Word knowledge. The policeman consoled the weeping child. Remember to pause, solve on your own, put answer in comments. Let's begin. First, we'll review each term starting with found. Having been discovered. Scolded. Speak to someone angrily and disapprovingly. Carried. Support and move from one place to another. Comforted. Ease the grief. Improve mood. And the key term, consoled. Give comfort at a time of grief. Of these four options, D, comforted is the best answer. Section 3 of the AFQT is paragraph comprehension. Get ready for 10 questions explained in 16 minutes. Paragraph comprehension. From a building designer's standpoint, three things that make a home livable are the needs of the client, the building site, and the amount of money the client can spend. According to the passage, to make a home livable, what? Remember to pause and solve on your own first. Let's begin. All right, let's get out the highlighter and get some key phrases here. So what are we trying to answer? According to the passage, to make a home livable, what? So if I look at A, land makes little difference. If I look at B, can be built on any piece of land. C, design must fit the owner's income and site. D, design must fit the designer's income. All right, let's take a look at A. The land makes a little difference. Well, right here, well, no, the building site is one of the three most important elements. And again, B can be built on any piece of land. Well, no, because right here, building site's one of the three most important things. Design must fit the homeowner's income and site. That's a maybe because I see money and building site. So let's look at D. Design must fit designer's income. Well, no. Right here, client income. So let's get rid of D. That leaves us C. Design must fit the owner's income and site as the best answer. Paragraph comprehension. In certain areas, water is so scarce that every attempt is made to conserve it. For instance, on one oasis in the Sahara Desert, the amount of water necessary for each date palm tree has been carefully determined. How much water is each tree given? Remember to pause, solve on your own, put your answer in the comments. Let's begin. All right, let's get out the highlighter, look at key terms. So what are we answering? How much water is each tree given? And if we look at the answers, the options are no water, exactly, only if it's healthy, and alternate days. So let's look at A, no water at all. Well, that doesn't make sense because the whole second sentence is about carefully determined water. Exactly the amount on B. I kind of like that. Because it's carefully determined. Let's save that for now. C, only if it's healthy. Well, I don't see anything talking about the water's health. Water only on alternate days. I don't see anything about alternate days. So we eliminated A, C, and D. That leaves our B, exactly the amount required, as the best answer. Paragraph comprehension. Few drivers realize that steel is used to keep the road surface flat despite the weight of buses and trucks. Steel bars, deeply embedded in the concrete, are sinews to take the stresses so that the stresses cannot crack the slab or make it wavy. This passage best supports the statement that a concrete road blank. Remember to pause, solve on your own, put your answer in the comments. Let's begin. All right, let's get the highlighter. We're trying to do a concrete road is what? Is it A, expensive? Is it B, usually cracks? Is it C, looks like the end of the road? Or D, reinforced with other material? So if we look for A, expensive, if I scan through, I don't see purchase, buy, expense. I don't think it's A, usually cracks. Now the word crack is here, but it also says cannot crack. So I don't think it's B. C, looks like. There's nothing about image, nothing about looks. So I don't think it's C. And D, even though it's the last answer, let's make sure that there's evidence that it's a good answer and we didn't make mistakes elsewhere. So reinforced with other material. Well, I see the statement right here. Steel bars deeply embedded in the concrete. So that gives us evidence that D is reinforced with other material is the best answer. Paragraph comprehension. More patents have been issued for inventions relating to transportation than for those in any other line of human activity. These inventions have resulted in a great financial saving to the people and have made possible a civilization that could not have existed without them. Which of the following statements best supports the passage that transportation what? Remember to pause, solve on your own, put your answer in the comments. All right, let's get out the highlighter and take a look. So we are answering, we're looking for the best supported statement about transportation. And we have some absolute words here. Be careful. Impossible, that is an absolute. Very important words in paragraph comprehension questions. And also look at D. Is more important than any other activity. That's an absolute. Absolutes can get tricky. It's there to throw you off. Now let's look into all the answers. So would be impossible without inventions? Well, it actually doesn't talk about the possibility or impossibility of any of this stuff happening. So that's not really what the section's about. Let's look at B. It's an important factor in our civilization. Well, if I scan, I see the word civilization right here. That could not have existed without them. Well, important factor and could not have existed. That lines up. So let's hang on to B. That's a maybe answer. C is still much to be improved. If I scan through, I don't see words like get better, improve, more improved. I don't see things like that. I don't think it's C. And then D is more important than any other activity. If I scan, I see the word activity here, but activity is in reference to patents and inventions and transportation, that kind of activity. So that's not what we're talking about. So based on all the options, it looks like B is an important factor in our civilization is the best answer. Paragraph comprehension. The Supreme Court was established by Article 3 of the Constitution. Since 1869, it has been made up of 9 members, the Chief Justice and 8 Associate Justices, who are appointed for life. Supreme Court justices are named by the President and must be confirmed by the Senate. The Supreme Court, what? Remember to pause, solve on your own, put your answer in the comments. Let's begin. All right, let's get out the highlighter. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to find the best statement that goes along with the Supreme Court. So if we look at A, established in 1869, B, appointed by the Senate, C, 9 justices, D, changes with each president. Now, and then we'll start with A. So this one's interesting. So 1869, if we go up here, 1869, but this says was established in 1869. This just says since 1869 there have been 9 members. So that one doesn't work. B, appointed by the Senate. Well, if I skim here, I see Senate must be confirmed by the Senate. That's not the same as appointed because they are named by the President. So B doesn't work. Consists of 9 justices. Well, if we go up here, since 1869, there have been 9 members, the Chief Justice and 8 Associate Justices, so I like that. We'll keep that for now. D, changes with each president. Well, the Supreme Court justices are named by the president, but it doesn't mean they change each time with the president, so D doesn't work. So based on our options, it looks like C, consists of 9 justices, is the best option. Paragraph comprehension. Except for Earth, all the planets in our solar system are named for gods and goddesses in Greek or Roman legends. This is because the other planets were believed to be in heaven like the gods, and our planet lay beneath like the Earth. All the planets except Earth, what? Remember to pause, solve on your own, put your answer in the comments. Let's begin. All right, let's get out the highlighter. Super important word, except. Super tricky word in paragraph comprehension questions. Be very careful with that. All the planets except Earth. And if we look at answer A, part of Greek and Roman legends. B, believed to be in heaven. C, part of the same solar system. D, worshipped as gods. So let's go line by line and look for evidence. So A, part of Greek and Roman legends. Well, here in first sentence, named for gods and goddesses in Greek and Roman legends. That's not the same as part of Greek and Roman legends. I don't like A. B, we're believed to be in heaven. Well, if we skim through right here, believed to be in heaven. So word for word, I like B. Let's hang on to that for now. C, part of the same solar system. Well, remember, except Earth. Well, Earth is obviously in the same solar system, so that doesn't work. D, worshipped as gods. Well, here, named for gods. Nowhere in this passage does it talk about worshiping, so I don't like D. Based on the options, B, we're believed to be in heaven, is the best answer. Paragraph comprehension. Both the high school and the college should take the responsibility for preparing the student to get a job. Because the ability to write a good application letter is one of the first steps toward this goal, every teacher should be willing to do what he or she can do to help the student learn to write such letters. The paragraph best supports the statement that, what? Remember to pause, solve on your own, put your answer in the comments. Let's begin. All right, so let's get out the highlighter. So here we're looking for the statement that supports this passage. So if we look at A, let's see, inability to write, and that reduces the job prospects. B, major responsibility of the school is to obtain jobs. C, let's see, for who the work student applies for first, and every teacher should teach a course. All right, let's look for evidence. So inability to write. Well, the whole thing is about the difficulty of writing and how students need to do better, reduces one job prospects. If we look at the first sentence, preparing the student to get a job. So that's interesting. I think A is a maybe. Let's go to B. Major responsibility of the school is to obtain jobs. Well, this whole passage talks about helping the student write. It doesn't specifically talk about helping them or making them or giving them a job. So I don't like B. Let's go to C. The type of work the student applies to. This passage, I don't see any kind of work. I don't see any kind of jobs. D, every student should teach a course. Well, it talks about each teacher should be willing to help and do what they can. It doesn't talk about teaching a course. So based on the four options, I think A, inability to write a good letter often reduces one's job prospects is the best answer. Paragraph comprehension. Many people think that only older men who have a great deal of experience should hold public office. These people lose sight of an important fact. Many of the founding fathers of our country were comparatively young men. Today, more than ever, our country needs young, idealistic politicians. The best interpretation of what this author believes is that, what? Remember to pause, solve on your own, put your answer in the comments. Let's begin. All right, let me get my highlighter out, and what are we trying to answer? We're looking for the best interpretation of what this author believes. And there's some keywords here in the answers. These are some absolutes. If we look at A, only experienced. B, only idealistic. C, let's see, younger men can and should. D, young people don't like politics. Absolute words are tricky and you need to be careful with them in paragraph comprehension questions. Now let's look at A, only experienced men. Now remember, this is the author believes. Well, if we look at that first line, the author says many people think only men that are experienced. So that doesn't quite work. It's not the author's opinion. Let's look at B, only idealistic men. Well, if we skim, I see here at the bottom, idealistic, and it talks about young and idealistic. It doesn't say only idealistic men should hold public office. B doesn't work. Younger men can and should take part. Well, again, we look at that last line. Today, more than ever, our country needs young, idealistic politicians. I think C's a maybe. We'll hang on to C for now. D, young people don't like politics. That, let's see, don't like, doesn't like. When I skim through, I don't see anything like that the author's trying to push out or suggest that young people don't like politics. D doesn't work. So we have C, younger men can and should take part in politics as the best answer. Paragraph comprehension. The X-ray has gone into business. Developed primarily to aid in diagnosing human ills, the machine now works in packing plants, foundries, and service stations, and in a dozen ways contributes to precision and accuracy in industry. The X-ray, what? Remember to pause, solve on your own, put your answer in the comments. Let's begin. So let's get out the highlighter, and what are we trying to answer? We need a statement that matches the passage about the X-ray. So if we look at A, let's see, it was first developed to aid business. B, improve the functioning of industry. C, looks like we're comparing packing plants with foundries. And D, increase the output of industries. Now let's look for evidence. So with A, first developed to aid business. Well, if we look at sentence number 2, developed primarily to aid in human ills. So A is nope, that's incorrect. B, used to improve the functioning of industry. Well, we do have multiple examples of different industries and the way it's improving. So B is a maybe. C is more accurate in packing plants than foundries. Well, it does list packing plants and list foundries, but it doesn't compare them in any way. So I don't like C. D, increases the output. As I skim through, I don't see any kind of output. I don't think any kind of supply. I don't see any kind of like increasing numbers in any way. I don't like D. So based on our options, it looks like B is being used to improve the functioning of industry is the best answer. Paragraph comprehension. In large organizations, some standardized, simple, inexpensive method of giving employees information about company policies and rules, as well as specific instructions regarding their duties, is practically essential. This is the purpose of all office manuals of whatever type. The paragraph best supports the statement that office manuals what? Remember to pause, solve on your own, put your answer in the comments. Let's begin. All right, let's get out the highlighter, and what are we looking for? We want to know what best supports considering office manuals. If we look at A, all about the same. B, simple enough for the average employee. C, necessary to large organizations. D, constant reminders of duties. Now let's look for evidence. So all about the same. Well, I think when you look at the last line, the purpose of all office manuals of whatever type, I feel like the purpose is all about the same, but not the manuals itself. So I don't think A works. B should be simple enough for the average employee. Simple, that word's in there, employee's in there, but it doesn't really say it has to be simple enough for the average employee. It doesn't really reference an employee in that regard. I'm not a fan of B. Let's see what C is. Necessary to large organizations. Well, I do see the word essential. Essential is a synonym for necessary. Well as specific instructions regarding their duties, practically essential. So I kind of like C. We're going to hang on to that for a moment. D, act as constant reminders of their duties. Well, the word duties is here, but constant reminders. There's no constant, there's no reminders, and I think of office manuals more as a reference guide, the way that they're describing it, as opposed to constant reminders. So based on the options, I think we have C, are necessary to large organizations, as the best answer. Section 4 of the AFQT is mathematics knowledge. Get ready for 10 questions explained in 10 minutes. Mathematics knowledge. If x plus 6 equals 7, then x is equal to what? Remember to pause, solve on your own, put your answer in the comments. Let's begin. All right, so we are answering for x. Let's rewrite it. X plus 6 equals 7. X is the variable. And to start, we have to isolate the variable. How do we get x by itself? Well, next to x is a positive 6. In algebra, to get a positive 6 to go away, you have to add a negative 6. But you have to remember to do it to both sides. So we're going to subtract 6 from both sides. So just rewrite the equation. X plus 6 equals 7. Here it is again. X plus 6 equals 7. Minus 6. Minus 6. 6 minus 6 is 0. 7 minus 6 is 1. X equals 1. B, 1, best answer. Mathematics knowledge. What is the area of the square above? Remember to pause, solve on your own, put the answer in the comments. Let's begin. All right, quick review. On a square, all 4 sides are equal. The square area formula is area equals side squared. And if you're unfamiliar with that little guy, that's called an exponent. When there's a 2 in the exponent, that means I'm going to go side times side. All right, you do that thing 2 times. So let's spell it out. Area equals side times side. Now let's plug it in. A for area and the number 5. So A equals 5 squared. And again, let's be super clear. A equals 5 times 5, which is the same as A equals 25. So D, 25 square feet, is the best answer. Mathematics knowledge. A box contains 20 marbles. There are equal amounts of blue, green, red, and yellow ones. If one of the marbles is picked out at random, what is the probability that it will be yellow? Remember to pause, solve on your own, put your answer in the comments. Let's begin. All right, let's get out the highlighter and mark what's important. I see 20 marbles. There's equal amounts of each color. Here's 1 color, 2 color, 3 color, 4 color. And the question is, if one of them is picked at random, what is the probability it will be yellow? So what do we need to know? How many total marbles? 20. How many total colors? 1, 2, 3, 4. And if we take 20 divided by 4 equals 5. What does 5 represent? 5 yellow marbles. But that's not the answer. We need the probability. And the probability formula is desired outcomes over total number of outcomes. Our desired outcome is a yellow marble. Our total outcome is how many marbles there are. So we take 5 over 20, reduces to 1 over 4. So the answer is C, 1/4. Mathematics knowledge. In the figure above, the sides of ABC are respectively parallel to the sides of DEF. If the complement of A is 65 degrees, then the measure of angle D is what? Remember to pause and solve on your own. Let's begin. All right, let's start by highlighting what's important. Important phrase here, respectfully parallel, complement, and we're answering for D. Respectfully parallel means they're in proportion to each other. What that means is it's possible for A to B to be a different length than D to E, but they're considered proportional because the angles still equal each other. So angle ABC equals DEF. Now complement. Complementary angle means the sum of 2 angles equals 90. Let's do a visual. Angle 1, angle 2. You add them together, you get 90. So with our problem, we don't know what A is, but we know what the complement is. The complement's the other side, and the other side is 65. So 65 plus A equals 90, and to solve it, take 90 minus 65, A equals 25, but we need to answer for D. And fortunately, we know that A and D are the same. So A equals D equals 25 degrees. Here's our answer, A, 25 degrees. Mathematics knowledge. The cube of 4 is, remember to pause and solve on your own. Let's begin. If you're unfamiliar with cube of 4, same as 4 cubed. This 3 here is an exponent, and it tells you how many times this thing is multiplied by itself. So it's the same as 4 times 4 times 4. That's what that 3 means, or cube. And for you to help with mental math, I like to use 2's. What does that mean? 4 times 4 equals 16. That's easy enough. And then 16 times 2 is 32. 32 times 2 is 64. So 4 times 4 times 4 is 64. C, 64 is your answer. Mathematics knowledge. In the formula x equals p plus PRT, what does x equal when p equals 500, r equals 20%, and t equals 2? Remember to pause and solve on your own. Let's begin. So in this problem, we are solving for x. Let's rewrite the problem, and piece by piece, let's get everything plugged in. P equals 500, r equals 20%, and t equals 2. Plug everything in, rewrite the problem. X equals 500 plus 500 times 20% times 2. Let's get rid of that 20%. And we do that simply by moving a decimal 2 places. Let's rewrite it. X equals 500 plus 500 times 0.2 times 2. When I do multi-step problems, I like to start by shrinking numbers. How do we make a number smaller? We're going to do 500 times 0.2. For mental math, do 500 times 2, then move the decimal back. Because do you see, if I just move it one place, later on I'll just move it one place back. So 500 times 2 is 1,000. Move the decimal back, so I know that 500 times 0.2 is 100. Now let's plug that back into the original equation and rewrite it. X equals 500 plus 100 times 2. 100 times 2 is 200. Plug it back in. X equals 500 plus 200. 5 plus 2 is 7. Put the zeros back on for 700. B, 700 is your best answer. Mathematics knowledge. X plus 3 times x plus 3. Remember to pause and solve on your own. Let's begin. Now this equation, we have binomials. To multiply binomials, use FOIL. First, outside, inside, last. Let's demonstrate. Rewrite the problem. And step 1 is first, x times x. Then we go outside, x times 3. Do the math. X times x is x squared. X times 3 is 3x. Step 2, rewrite the problem, and we're going to do the inside and last. So inside, 3 times x. Last, 3 times 3. Do the math. 3 times x is 3x, plus 3 times 3, which is 9. Now we're going to take these two elements and combine them into a new equation. X squared plus 3x plus 3x plus 9. X squared stays the same. 3x's can be combined. 9x stays the same. So we have our final answer of D, x squared plus 6x plus 9. Mathematics knowledge. X squared times x cubed equals what? Remember to pause and solve on your own. Let's begin. To answer this problem, you need to know the rule. The rule is to multiply two exponents with the same base, you keep the base and add the powers. What does that mean? X to the a times x to the b equals x to the a plus b. So x and x are the same base. That means you can add the exponents. Let's plug in our problem. X squared times x cubed equals x 2 plus 3. X squared plus x cubed equals x to the 5th. B, x to the 5th is the best answer. Mathematics knowledge. In the figure above, measurement of angle AOB equals 60 degrees. If O is the center of the circle, then minor arc AB is what part of the circumference of the circle? Remember to pause and solve on your own. Let's begin. All right, let's take the highlighter. AOB equals 60. O is at the center, and we're trying to figure out the circumference. What part of minor arc B is the circumference of a circle? And if we look at the answers, everything's a fraction. So that gives us an idea of what we need to find for an answer. So AOB equals 60 degrees. What does that mean? AOB, 60 degrees. They're saying that this piece of the pie is 60 degrees because minor arc AB AB. That's the minor arc. Now let's review a circle. A circle is 360 degrees. So this piece of the pie is 60, and they're asking what part of 360 is it? So let's throw in some math. 60 over 360, right? Part of a whole. That's how fractions are, part of a whole. For mental math, get rid of the zeros. So we have 6 over 36 reduces to 1 over 6, and there's your answer, C, 1/6. Mathematics knowledge. A man has T dollars to invest. After he invests $1,000, how much money does he have remaining? Remember to pause and solve on your own. Let's begin. All right, so we start with T dollars. We invest 1,000, and the question is, how much is remaining? And if you look at the answers, this isn't a specific number. This is a variable plus a number. So what do we know? We know that total starting money is represented by T. And if he spends 1,000, that is removed or subtracted from its total of T. Now, when I have trouble with the variable, I throw in a number to represent it just to get my head wrapped around it. So imagine T equals $3,000. And if I spend 1,000, 3,000 minus 1,000 equals 2,000. Now let's plug in our T, and we have a formula. T minus 1,000. B, T minus 1,000 is your best answer. Thank you for watching. At ASVAB Speed, you can watch question walkthroughs in all 9 subject areas, helping you pass the ASVAB faster.